So this session is all about the introduction of PEGA, and we will also see the tool, okay, the different components of the tool. So I'll immediately get into the tool, how it works, and what are the features of PEGA, blah blah things we're going to speak. Okay. So first thing is, I think you could have done some R&D on PEGA. What is PEGA? What is PEGA? Any answers?
This is one of the BPM tool,
Okay, it's one of the BPM tool. Good. Anything else?
especially used for banking applications.
Sorry, which you used to develop?
So for banking applications,
Which applications?
banking.
Banking applications. Okay. Okay. Anything else? Okay. So PEGA is used for, it's not like banking, or it's not like insurance, it's not like healthcare kind of thing, but ultimately what's the answer you have to give is PEGA is used for enterprise, developing enterprise applications. So this is the generalized answer you have to give it. Okay. Did I make sense? So PEGA is used for enterprise, in order to develop an enterprise application, we can use the PEGA, which is a BPM tool. So in order to understand like what is BPM, so first you need to understand your business process. Okay, I'll just have a quick uh, definition of business process because I don't want to stress on the more on theoretical. So business process, okay. So when I say business, okay, the business meaning is collection of policies and strategies. Okay. Okay. So collection of policies and strategies will be collectively called as a business. And when I say process, okay, process is nothing but some operation or functionality, okay, or a method. So process means step by step. Like we say, for example, when we try to recruit a person as an organization, we'll have some interview process. Did I make sense? In order to apply a passport, we need some process. Okay. So blah blah things. So when can I say a process as a business process is when it satisfies 6 factors. Okay. One is event, activities, decisions, actors, resources, and lastly outcome. Okay. So these are the 6 factors that you should be aware of. So when can I say a process as a business process is when it satisfies these 6 factors. So what are those 6 factors as? The starting with event. Now how do I understand event? Now for example guys, probably you could have done online purchasing, okay, from Flipkart or Amazon or Myntra, Jabong, etc. So we have got so many e-commerce sites nowadays, and we opt for usually we are opting for online shopping. So when we try to do some online shopping, let's say I liked some watch and I want to buy it. So what I'll do is I will try to raise the purchase order. So this is the first step I'm going to do it. Yes or no? So raising the purchase order, that means during the raising of purchase order, I'll fill up my mode of payment. I'll fill up my shipping address. I'll fill up my quantities, how many quantities I need that. Okay. So after I raise the purchase order, so that raising the purchase order itself is an event. Did I make sense, guys? Once the event gets started, followed by activities. Okay. So what are those activities? After the purchase order gets raised, what are the activities, guys?
Inquiries will be happen.
Okay, so once like the purchase order gets raised, let's say the Flipkart guys has received the request, then what they will do? Then they will try to
They will,
package the product. Yes, isn't it? Okay, so they will try to package the product. Okay, then they will try to ship the product. Okay, then they will try to deliver the product. Okay, so these are the back-end activities that gets performed once you raise the purchasing order. Okay, next comes the decisions. Now for example guys, in some cases you will have some decisions to be taken. Now for example, let's say pay rupees extra 50, the product will be delivered by tomorrow. So then vendor has to choose. Okay, the vendor has to be aware of, or the vendor has to choose which means of transport I need to use. Okay, so he has to select which means of transport. So should I go for airways, or should I go for uh, waterways? Should I go for railways? Should I go for roadways? So these are the decisions that he has to take in. And after the product is delivered, the customer, if he does not like that product, okay, physically, so then he can do an exchange, or then he can say that I want the cash back, blah blah things. So those all comes under what? Decisions. Okay. And coming to the actors, who are the actors that are getting involved is the customer, okay, and the vendor, right? So customer is being involved, vendor is being involved, even the organization like Flipkart or Amazon or blah blah people will also get involved, and the shipping department people also getting involved. Okay, so and logistic people also getting involved. So these are all the actors that are getting involved in this process. Apart from that, okay, apart from that we have something at last, that is resources. Okay, so what is resources in this case is, now for example, in order to package that product we need some box. Okay, so that box is also one resource. Smartphone, the smartphone, why I'm saying smartphone is, now for example, after the delivery of the product, the logistic guy will try to take the signature from you that the product is delivered, correct? So he's trying to use the smartphone in your complete in your delivery process. So that can also be considered as a resource which is taking part as a part of your process. And apart from that, you have some server machines. Okay, okay, you have some server machines which maintains the, okay, we have server machines which maintains the your application. Okay, like for example, if I say Flipkart, it's a web application, Amazon web application, Mintra web application. So you need some servers machines in order to maintain those applications. So those also comes under resources. Did I make sense guys? Still here?
yes,
Okay, Vikram, Bharat,
yes,
Ram
I'm there.
Bharat, yeah. So now at last, what is the final outcome in this case, guys? When you try to order purchase, I mean, you will try to have a purchase order. So what is the final outcome? Product,
The product will be delivered to the customer.
correct. Product to the customer, and finally cash to the organization. Okay. So this is what we can consider, because in this application, if you consider right from the purchase order to cash, okay, so you have got right from the events to resources, these six factors, I mean events to outcome, these six factors have been satisfied. So I can say online purchasing is an example of, it's an example of business process. Did I make sense? Okay. Not only this, guys, you have different examples like passport application. Okay, where these 6 factors gets involved. Okay, so passport. Next we have one more example. Good example is insurance claim. Okay, this is also one of the business process we have. Okay, so likewise, okay, we can consider these 3 good examples for the business process, that is online purchasing, passport application, insurance claim. Okay, did I make sense? Yeah. Now,
Yes.
we will go ahead with PEGA. Okay, so what is PEGA is, okay, it satisfies all your BPM applications, business process applications. So you should recognize what is business process. Okay, once you have recognized the business process, right? So then thereby you can represent that business process application using PEGA. Okay, so what does PEGA helps for us? It helps for developing, as I told you, it helps for developing enterprise applications. Okay, so when I say enterprise applications, yes, banking application comes under enterprise. Okay, next what? You can say healthcare domain applications also comes under enterprise, and insurance domain, okay, also comes under enterprise applications. Okay, so the primary thing you have to do, whether I can develop an application in PEGA or any BPM tool, is firstly you need to see whether it is a business process or not. Okay, so once you recognize this business process, yes, I can represent that business process in my any of the BPM tool. So one of the BPM tool we have is PEGA. So PEGA is a web-based application. Okay, so what is PEGA, guys? So PEGA is a web-based application. Okay, so so PEGA is a web-based application we have, and which is used to develop other applications. Okay, which is used to develop other, better to use this word. Okay, what is that? Enterprise applications. Did I make sense? So when I say web-based application, guys, how do you access Gmail? How do you access Gmail?
It's a web-based application.
Yes, it's a web-based application. That means I need to access from the browser.
Yeah.
Correct. And let's say take Google, it's a web-based application. Facebook, web-based application. So I need to access the web-based applications using browser. Similarly, what I'm saying is PEGA tool, you can say PEGA tool is a web-based application. So since I'm saying it is a web-based application, you need to access the PEGA tool using the browser. Did I make sense, guys? Okay, so since it's a web-based applications, it needs the support of a server. Okay, so by default your PEGA personal edition, okay, you will have personal edition and the enterprise edition. So your PEGA personal edition must be installed, or by default it gets installed in Apache Tomcat web server. Okay, it by default gets installed in Apache Tomcat web server. Okay, and this PEGA installation needs a backend also. Needs the backend. When I say backend, that means it needs the database. Okay, so by default database that will be used by your PEGA application is PJSQL. Okay, that is PostgreSQL server. Did I make sense? Okay, so when we using PEGA tool as a personal edition, it gets installed in the Apache Tomcat web server by default and PJSQL server as a backend database server by default. Okay, so if you are using enterprise application, guys, okay, you may deploy the .var or .ear file in .var or .ear file in any of the servers. Okay. So when I say .ear, okay, that is enterprise archive file. So that must be deployed in only in application servers. So we have different application servers in the market like JBoss, Glassfish, okay, WebSphere application server. Okay. You can deploy in any of these servers. If it is a .var, you can deploy in the Tomcat web server itself. Okay, did I make sense? So ultimately, as I told you, as I promised you, like PEGA is a web-based application. So it comes with .var or .ear file. So it must be deployed in your servers. Did I make sense? Is that clear?
Yep.
Yeah. Right. So coming to the So after you getting installed, your PEGA gets installed, you will get three shortcuts, guys. Okay. Don't worry about the installation. It's just a simple. You need to click on one batch file and keep on clicking on next. It will take half an hour to 45 minutes in order to completely install the personalization. After you are getting installed, you will get three shortcuts: startup, shutdown, and login. So you can observe this: startup, shutdown, and login. So once I click on startup, wait for 5 minutes. At the backend, what will happen is your server gets startup and your application gets deployed. So these are the instructions that will be run at the backend. So need not worry about it. Just we need to click on the startup, wait for 5 minutes. After you server gets startup, then application gets deployed. You can click on this PRPC 7.1 login. Okay. And let me tell you guys, the current version, last week only we had a release. The current version of PEGA is 7.2.1. Okay, this is the current version of PEGA. Okay, and once I click on that login, okay, so you will get this login page. Okay, and we say PEGA tool as BPM tool, that's fine, but we have another name for PEGA tool, that is PRPC, or we can also say it as Designer Studio. Okay. See, if you are a .NET developer, we say it as a Visual Studio. If it is a Java developer, we use the terms like Eclipse and MyEclipse or NetBeans in order to develop our application. Similarly, through PEGA, if I want to develop an application, okay, so you need to call that tool as a Design Studio or PRPC. PRPC stands for PEGA Rules Process Commander. Okay, so why we say PEGA, what is rules, don't worry about it. Why we say PEGA rules process commander, you will be understanding once we get into the PEGA tool. Did I make sense? Okay, so now let's move on to the login page. Once you double click on that login, so you will get this login page. So you can see the URL, guys. It's a personal edition, it's being installed in your personal, so that's the reason it is showing the local host. Okay, did I make sense? This is your port number, blah blah port number, whatever you are keeping during the uh, installation, whatever the port number you will try to keep it, it will take that port number. Okay, PR web is an application, okay, which will be available in your Tomcat server. Okay, so don't worry about this, I'll show that one also, but let us log in. This is the login page, guys. Let us log in. So what's the default username and password? So you will get one default username as once you're getting installed. How do I log in it? Okay, so you can log in it with the default username as administrator@pega.com. Did I make sense? And the password is install. Okay. So administrator@pega.com is a by default username, and install is a password. So from there you need to start developing your application. Okay, so let us go to this Internet Explorer once, administrator@pega.com, and password is installed. Then click on submit button. So once it's validated, once the username and password gets validated, so you will get the PRPC or Design Studio tool. Okay, so it has got 4 components. So let me name those components and I'll show it also, don't worry about it. So your Designer Studio, okay, is divided into 4 parts, okay, or 4 components. One is header, okay, next is Explorer panel, bottom you will have developer toolbar, and in the middle area we call it as a work area. Okay, so let us see once. So as I told you guys, this is what your Designer Studio, this is how it looks like, and this is your header. Okay, in the header you have Designer Studio, PEGA rules, launch, create, okay, search, private, blah blah things. And at the left hand side you can see the Explorer panel, and the top and the bottom you can see the developer toolbar. Okay, and in between you will be finding the work area. Did I make sense? Okay, so I'll repeat once again. This is what header. At the left hand side this is the Explorer panel, and the bottom it is called as developer toolbar, and in between you have a work area. Okay, did I make sense? Okay, so we'll start with an application, guys, so that you will be understanding the terminologies of cases and data, what is data types or what is cases. I'll introduce those terminologies which will be very much new to you. Okay, and let me introduce something called as application menu, guys. So this cube you can see which is in the header part. Are you able to see that?
Yes.
Yes, so which is
Yes.
called as the application menu. Okay, so that cube shape which is called as application menu, which contains all the details related to the application, and one of the option in case of application menu is new application. Did I make sense? So how do I start up an application is you have to go to the application menu first. Okay, and there will be one option called as new application. So are you able to see that new application? So that
Yes.
once I click on that new application, guys, okay, so what gets started? Your new application wizard. Okay, please notice those terminology. New application wizard, which is also called as application express. Okay, which is also called as application express. Okay, we'll try to create a prototype of your application. Okay, when I say prototype, it just creates some necessary things initially. Okay, just it initiates your application. Okay, so it will create a prototype of your application. Did I make sense? So how does it looks like? So, and it has 4 steps, guys. In order to develop our application, we have to follow 4 steps. Okay, so you have to remember like this: the starting letters of English, that is A, B, the first 4 letters A, B, C, D. Okay, the first 4 letters, that is A, B, C, D. So your 4 steps of our application creation will have 4 steps. Okay, so first is application settings. Okay, second is business objectives. Okay, third one is case types. Fourth one is data types. Okay, so these are the first 4 types of first 4 steps of application creation using application express or new application wizard. Okay, now let's create a new application. Let us click on create new application. So as I promised you guys, these are the first steps. The first steps of your application creation: application settings, business objectives, case types, data types. Is that clear? Yes. Okay. Now, if you notice, guys, it will ask you first about the application name. Okay. So I'm going to put my application name. Let's say I'm developing my application for HR. Okay. So my application name, I'm taking it as my HR services. Okay. So this is what my application name is, that is my HR services. Okay. And second area, text area contains description. So here you can say my HR services, you need to describe your application. It's an application for recruiting, okay, the candidates, okay, for recruiting the candidates for the appropriate positions that are open. Okay, so let's say that is the in the application settings, that is the application description I'm trying to give it. Okay, so next comes the built on application. So this is something interesting, guys. Okay, so what is built on? Okay, what is built on? So built on is something like so you should be aware of something called as inheritance. Okay, so then you will be easily understanding what is built on. Now for example, guys, let's say there is I will try to represent in the form of classes. The inheritance concept, you know, in terms of classes, right? So when I say class base, okay, instead of saying base, you will be understanding in the terminology of parent and child. Okay, so let's say there is some class called as a parent. Okay, and there is something class called as child. So child is trying to inherit parent. Okay, so you know what is inheritance, right? So whatever the, for example, in real, like you will get some features of your father, right? So that is what your inheritance is. Okay, so similarly here, whatever the things that are available in your parent class will be getting inherited into your child class. Okay, so I say class child extends parent. So what's the use of this? What's the advantage of this inheritance? What's the advantage of inheritance?
You don't have to add features to the child class.
Yes, so that means it is like reusability. Okay, so which increases the reusability. What are the things that are already present in your parent class, you need not repeat once again. Okay, so inheritance increases the reusability. So similarly, guys, whatever the inheritance I have represented in the form of classes, similarly in case of PEGA, you will have an inheritance on the classes as well as on the applications as well. Did I make sense? That means now if I say app 1, okay, app 1 is built on app 2. Okay, app 1 is built on app 2. That means app 1 will inherit, okay, will inherit the features of app 2. Did I make sense, guys? So whatever the app 2 that has got, let me use that word called as rules. Okay, whatever the things, instead of using things, I'm using the word called as rules. So whatever the rules that have been defined in app 2 will be getting inherited in app 1. Did I make sense? Okay, that is what we call it as a built on. Okay, so there is one application called as PEGA rules, okay, which is given by the PEGA systems. Okay, if you are a Java experienced, probably you are aware of this something called as, if any class is not extending other classes, it extends by default object class, okay, which is given by the Sun microsystem. Okay, so similarly, okay, that means, is this child class inheriting object class, guys? Is this child class inheriting object class?
Yes.
Yes. How can you say yes?
It will inherit all the parents.
See, child is inheriting parent and parent is inheriting object. That means child is indirectly inheriting object. It's like grandfather, father and child. Did I make sense, guys? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So child is trying to inherit the object class indirectly. Okay. So, but ultimately, whatever the classes you are trying to create it should inherit object class which is given by the Sun microsystem, which is a built-in one. Similarly, whether you create app 1, your user defined applications, whether you create app 2, whether you create app 3, so on, but okay, your application must, okay, your application must be directly or indirectly, okay, should be built on PEGA rules application, which is a built-in application given by PEGA systems. Okay, did I make sense, guys? So whether you develop app 1, app 2, app 3, whatever the applications you are trying to develop it, but your application must directly or indirectly inherit your PEGA rules application. Why I'm using the word called as indirectly, you will come to know. Don't worry about it. Okay. But for example, if I say app 1 is built on an app 2, probably app 2 is built on what? PEGA rules. Did I make sense? Okay. So now coming back, to this one, so I am trying to build on my HR services, which is my application, which is user defined application, is trying to build on PEGA rules, which is given by PEGA systems. Did I make sense? Yes. And here comes the other factor which I'm going to explain it, okay, in terms of, I mean, thereby you will also get understand what is that PEGA rules, how does, I mean, indirectly how can I inherit PEGA rules also, you will be understanding by this feature. Okay, what is its application structure? This application structure has got 3 options. If you see it carefully, guys, framework only, implementation only, framework and implementation. Okay, did I make sense? 3 options. I repeat, framework only, implementation only, framework and implementation. Okay, so when I say framework only, guys, what's the specialty of framework? Okay, what's the specialty of framework? Okay, the specialty of framework is, when should I go for framework application? If we want to have reusable rules or reusable things for your understanding. After that, I'll replace the terminology by rules. Okay, if we want to have reusable things or rules, okay, that has to be exposed. Okay, that has to be exposed. And if you want to see, your application, okay, in built on list, okay, if you want to see your application in built on list, you have to make, okay, you have to make that app as, that is your application as framework only. Did I make sense, guys? Is that clear? Yes or no? Okay.
Yep.
If we want to expose the rules, okay, to another application, and I want to see my application to be in the built-on list for other applications, so you have to choose your application as framework only. Did I make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Now coming back, there is another option called as implementation only. It's a quite opposite of framework only. That means if
Yeah.
okay, if we don't want, okay, to have reusable, that means at the leaf node, okay, reusable things or rules, okay, that we want to expose it, we don't want to expose it, okay, so you can go, and you don't want your applications to be seen in the built-on list by default, okay, so you can make that application as implementation only. Okay, did I make sense, guys?
Mm-hmm.
Now if I say framework and implementation, what will happen? You have another option, the
Well,
third option, that is framework and implementation. What will happen? So it will create two applications, guys. It will create how many applications? Two applications. One is at framework layer. Let's say my HR services FW, that is framework, and my HR services implementation. Okay, so it will create two applications, guys. If I choose framework and implementation, one is at the framework layer, another is at the implementation layer. Did I make sense? Okay, one is
yeah.
at the framework layer, another is at the implementation layer. Now what will be the relationship between these applications? Okay, there should be some relationship. How the built on will be carried on? So the built on will be carried on like this. My HR services implementation, okay, my
And for
HR services implementation will be built on,
the framework.
yes, very good. It will be built on framework. Okay. Did I make sense? That means my HR services implementation application is inheriting or is reusing the rules of my HR services FW. Did I make sense? And when I say built on my HR service FW, then my HR services FW should be built on what? Built on what?
On the original one.
What is it?
PEGA system.
Yes.
PEGA
PEGA
rules.
rules.
Did I make sense? So this is what the relationship we have. My HR services implementation application will be built on framework application. Framework application will be built on PEGA rules application. So this is, now can I say my HR service implementation application is built on PEGA rules indirectly?
Yeah.
Yes or no?
Yeah.
Okay, so those are the three options that comes under the application structure. So these three options comes under application structure. Did I make sense, guys?
Mm-hmm.
Now let me choose as framework and implementation currently, such that it will create two applications for you. One is at the framework, another is at the implementation. Did I make sense?
Yes. Yeah.
Now coming back to the organization, so the last one in the application settings, before we see the configuration advanced settings, okay, last one is the organization we have. Okay, so what does this organization will do? So this application, to whom you want to develop, okay, to whom you want to develop this application, you have to give that organization name. Did I make sense? So let's say I'm trying to develop the application for the Infosys, so I'm trying to put my organization as Infi. Did I make sense, guys? Okay, so to whoever you're trying to develop the application, that organization you have to give it over here. Did I make sense?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, now Coming back to these configuration advanced settings. Okay, I want to discuss few points in my configuration advanced settings because later I'll going to discuss in deep what will happen in if we are going if you are configuring something in advanced configuration. Okay, so I want you to focus in the organization settings, guys. Okay, so there is something called as Infi organization. Okay, which is having division as India and Hyderabad, which is already populated because I already had this Infi organization. Okay, okay, okay. So this is the Infi organization. So you can give your division name. So what is division name, guys? So in the organization settings, after your organization name, you have division name. What is this division name is? You can consider your division name as a geographic location. Okay, you can consider your division name as geographic location, or else you can also consider it as a departments. Did I make sense? Now HR services will have a department. Okay, let's say my HR service application is okay, so where I have to, or under this organization, HR is a one division and help desk is my unit. Did I make sense, guys? HR is my division. Okay, so I can also consider departments as divisions, and help desk is my unit. So HR services or HR help desk is my unit. Did I make sense? So over here you can give the division names as your geographic location. So let's say Infosys is it's located in India and unit name is Hyderabad. Did I make sense, guys? Yes or no? Okay,
Yes.
Yes.
so based on this organization settings, guys, so concentrate over here. Based on this organization settings template, okay, you will have the class structure, two class structures that are created at implementation layer and at the framework layer. Please notice these two, guys. Just remember that we'll come back to this again, but what I'm trying to tell you is please notice that according to the organization settings, you can design your class structure. There will be two class structure if you are choosing your application as framework and implementation. You can have two class structures. One is at the framework layer, another is at the implementation layer. Now guys, how many classes I have over here? 1 and 2 and 3. These three are individual classes. Infi is one class. Okay, you will have organization level class, my HR service, that is application related class, and class group class. So don't worry about this terminology, but ultimately how many classes I have? How many
3.
classes, guys? Three classes, right? 1, 2 and 3. Right? So and there is a relationship between those classes, like work is inheriting my HR serve and my HR serve is inheriting Infi. Did I make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the inheritance. You have the relationship between these three classes, and just you can click on this generate reusable division records, guys. Okay, if you click on that generate reusable records, what will happen? Just observe carefully. I'm ticking this. What happened? It has introduced one more class in between Infi and MyHR services. Did I make sense?
Yeah.
Yes. So if at all I tick this another checkbox, generate reusable unit records. If I tick this, Hyderabad class has been added in between division and app layer. Did I make sense? So totally how many
Yeah.
classes now we have?
5.
5 classes. Okay, Infi, India, Hyderabad, MyHR services and work. Did I make sense? And we have inheritance between work is inheriting MyHR services, MyHR services is inheriting Hyderabad, Hyderabad is inheriting India, India is inheriting Infi. Did I make sense? And this is the another class structure that we have, okay, at the framework layer. So we'll come back to this again, to this class structure, but what's the point? You have to notice it. If I'm using my application structure as framework and implementation, two class structures will be created. One is at the framework, another is at the implementation. Second point to be considered over here is when I'm trying to tick this generate reusable division and unit records, your two classes will be added in the implementation layer. Did I make sense?
Yep.
Okay. Now let me click on save, guys. Okay, so let me rename it Infi. Okay, so this is my organization, and let me click on next button. Okay, now coming to business objective. Okay, so I want to give some business objective over here. That means what do you mean by business objective, guys? Business objective means it's like a the goal, what's the agenda of your application. So you can give your business agenda as to recruit, okay, the right candidate for the position that is open. Okay, did I make sense? To recruit the right candidate for the position that is open. Okay, so this is what my business objective, that means the agenda. Okay, did I make sense? Then click on next button, guys. Now here comes the case types. Okay, I'll just introduce the case types. Okay, then I'll end up the session in 5 minutes. Okay, so case types, what do you mean by case type, guys? Okay, now you know how to apply a leave request. Okay, you know how to apply a leave request. So during your leave request apply, what you will mention, guys? During your leave request, what you will going to mention?
Start date, end date.
Very good. From date, good. Next what? To date. So from when to when you want to take the leave, then reason. Very good. Okay, so now guys, leave
Reason.
request, from date, to date, and reason. Okay, so these are the three things you are going to apply, I mean you are going to fill it up. Okay, so fine, once you have filled it up and you click on submit button, where this leave request instance will go, guys? One leave request instance will be created, correct? Okay, that instance, that is leave request object or instance, okay, where it is going to travel, where it is going to travel? To the manager. Okay, to your, let's say, reporting manager. Did I make sense, guys? So your reporting manager will going to receive the leave request. Did I make sense? So he is the one who will try to uh, approve or reject the leave. Did I make sense? Okay, so and let's say it's a more than 10 days leave. Let's say the leave request, after it's being approved by reporting manager, let's say it goes to HR manager also, assume. Did I make sense? So how many people are working on it? Three people. Like it is making the employee to make a request, and it is making reporting manager work on it, HR manager work on it. Did I make sense? Okay, so this leave request, okay, remember this leave request instance is, okay, or object is making people work on it. Please underline that word called as work. Okay, work on it. Okay, done. Next, now assume there is a scenario that reporting manager wants to see the employee information like designation, salary, blood group, blah blah things. So what he needs to do? So he will have there should be one more object called as employee object which will contain the details. Did I make sense, guys? Yes
Yeah.
or no? What does employee object contains? ID, name, department, salary. Yes or no? So these are the details that will be contained in the employee object. But tell me guys, one question for you guys. Will HR manager or reporting manager will work on your employee information? Will they change your blood group? Will they change your department, blah blah things?
No.
No.
No, right? They will be working on what?
On the leave request,
But they will not work on,
the employee object.
correct? Yes or no? But this
Yes.
employee object is a helper object, okay, or helping object for leave request. Did I make sense? Yes or no? And employee
Yeah.
object is containing some data, that is data of an employee. So now here comes the terminology, guys, please be careful. Now leave request object is making people work on it. So this is what we call it as work type, and work types are nothing but case types. Okay, did I make sense? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
so case type, what is case type means? It will make your people, it makes the people work on it. That is called as a case, okay, which will have some problem. Case means problem. In order to resolve that problem, we have the solution, that is case management. Okay, so I'll introduce that, don't worry about it, but use the terminologies. Whenever I say work type, that is nothing but case type. Case types are work types. Did I make sense?
Yes, but in this Vijay,
Yeah,
this example is that you give what are, you said work type, but what are the work types in this example?
leave request.
There are 3 people working on it.
Yeah, yes, leave request object or leave request class will be considered as the, better to use that word, leave request class is considered as a work type or a case type.
Okay.
Okay, leave request instance will be called as work item or case item. When I say object, you should call it as item. When I say class, you should call it as a type. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So coming to the employee object. Okay, coming to the employee object. What is this object called as? Data object. If you have a knowledge on Java, it is nothing but beans classes. Did I make sense? If you have a knowledge on Java, you can compare with the bean classes. If you don't know Java, not a problem. Just assume that employee objects or data objects are nothing but which will hold just data, and these will serve as a helper objects for work types. Did I make sense? These serves as a helper objects for work types. So in this work type is leave request. So leave request may contain employee object. Did I make sense? Because during that leave request apply, reporting manager or HR manager may be interested to see the employee information in read only. Did I make sense? So you can make your employee object, that is your data object, as a helper object for your leave request. Okay, did I make sense? Okay. So if you want to mention those work types, whatever I have mentioned over here, if you want to create that work type classes, you can mention over here. So candidate selection is one of my case type. Okay, in this case, and this is what my case is. And let me click on next. And candidate info will be my data types. Did I make sense,
Data
guys? Clear? So always as candidate info will contain the
the information.
details. Yeah, information. Is that clear? So any questions still here?
What is this reuse layer enterprise?
This is the, don't worry about this. You will have this five options. 1, 2, 3, 5 options you will have. Enterprise divisions. That means where should I create this class? Did I make sense? So where should I create this class? Should I create it at enterprise level? Should I create a division layer, unit, blah, blah things. So don't worry about this. But ultimately, where should I create that class? So it will show that reuse layer. Did I make sense?
Mhm.
Okay. Before I click on create, if you click on preview guys, at the back end, your app express, that is your application express, new application wizard will try to create at the back end so many rules for you. So you can click on this preview in order to see what are the rules that has been created. So keep on expanding these things, you will get so many things at the back end. Okay, so currently you need not worry about this, but ultimately why I'm showing this is there are so many classes that will be created or rules that will be created. So division layer, organization layer, so at different levels this will be created. And coming to the others, you can see you will be knowing the beautiful terms like access group, access role names. So you will have different access groups that will be created. Okay, so keep on expanding such that you will be understanding access role names. It will administrator, manager, user. So it will try to create different role names as well. And at the back end, it has also created for operators. How many operators it has created, guys?
Or
4 operators it has created. By that operator only we will try to log in it. So how many operators? 4 operators. And organization. So that means organization's template, that is organization structure, that is Infri India, Hyderabad, and work group. Okay, there is something called as work basket, blah blah things. So don't worry about this. But at the what I'm trying to show is application express is creating so many rules at the back end. Okay, so click on this close preview and let me click on create button. Once you click on create button, your application gets created. So it will take time, within probably 5 minutes it will take it. Okay, 3 to 5 minutes. So any questions, guys?
So, Vijay, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, is it necessary to have this all the case types and data types declared at the time of creating the
Need not,
application?
need not, need not. Okay, just
At later.
yet later we can add it. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, it's just like a prototype. That's the reason I initially used that word. App Express or a new application wizard is creating a prototype. Okay,
Okay.
so if you want to mention those, if you have designed it at that time itself, you can mention it. Otherwise, you can also mention it later. Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions till the application gets created? So you can shoot me the questions, guys.
Vijay, but now you started this PEGA and whatever this you're running this under a browser. How can we manage try to do this?
We will be
What's the
sharing you
disadvantage?
the personalization. Okay, so you
Okay,
can install that. You can start building the application. Any,
okay.
okay.
it's
Can you share a
will it
link
be
so that
available on demand though?
Sorry.
Like, can we use it
where can we
anytime?
Yeah,
download
we
this?
will be sharing it in Drive. Okay, or else Kiran has got some folder. I think that's available in cloud. So you can access that software. You can download it and install it. Okay.
Okay.
And do we need any kind of a programming languages though to?
The prerequisite, see, you need not have, but the thing is, if you have a very good, I mean, good, not very good, good knowledge on object-oriented programming or Java, it helps for you to pick up this PEGA very easily, quickly.
Okay. Okay.
So that's the only thing. That doesn't mean that you need to know completely. Okay. So when you have created your application, guys, so successfully, it will create 4 operators as I promised you. And so it will say congratulations on creating your application. And each of these operator has got the default password as rules. After you getting login, you can change the password also. And if I want to start developing my application, it just created a prototype. And if you want to develop the application, you have to log in with admin@infree to access this application and continue building your product. Did I make sense? So tomorrow we'll be seeing how do we log in with admin@infree and how do we start our application. Did I make sense?
Yes.
So then you can
Yes.
click on log
And
off.
can you just share that link where that cloud where I can go and download